So yes, we're in the middle of a sugya. We've said that both the Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, right? They can't be mitama to krayvim. They can't be mitama to relatives. However, they could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. They could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. And where do they know it from? Where do they know it from? So Rabbi Yishmael said this is the pasuk by Kohen Gadol, the bottom one. It says la'aviv le'imo lo yitama. The aviv that he's not mitama to his father can be mitama l'meis mitzvah, and imoy be used for the gezer shava imoy from Nazir, where it says b'moy sam, and therefore we say just like a Nazir cannot be mitama to a mace, but he could be mitama to a zav or a mitzayra or a zav who are then a Kohen Gadol can be mitama to a zav and a Kohen. This is the limit from Kohen Gadol. This we're going to hold off on a second. Now, what about Nazir? Where do you know Nazir from? So this is the pasuk by Nazir. Al nefesh meis la'yavai la'aviv l'imo la'achiv la'choisa b'moisam. What does Rabbi Shmuel use from al nefesh meis? That a Nazir cannot be mitama to rechaykim. The Nazir, the Nazir can be mitama to rechaykim. And the Nazir mitama rechaykim. The Nazir can be mitama to non-relatives. Okay, lo yavoy. Dafkan, we said Rabbi Shmuel learned that you might think an animal. He said no, not an animal, because it has to be someone that the tumah is possible lo yavoy, that the tumah comes about through tumas oil. That'd only be a human being. Lo aviv, the Nazir can't be mitama to a close relative. Right? We said a havamina, he might be mitama to this one, not this one, because here he'll have too much tsar, the Nazir. And therefore you learned it out from Gezer Shavu. The imoy, the Nazir mitama l'krayvim. The imoy, that was extra for the Gezer Shava, the same Gezer Shava that we had down here from Kohen Gadol to Nazir. La'achiv, right? The achiv that he has to be mitama l'meis mitzvah. The source of l'meis mitzvah is according to Rabbi Shmuel is the word achiv. La'choisai, if he's going to shecht his korban pesach or to mal his son, and he's going to be mitama, I would think since this is in Issachar, to not bring a korban pesach, not do a bismillah, since it's in Issachar, I would have thought what? I would have thought that you're not mitama l'meis mitzvah. Kamasimon you mitama even, but if you're going to shech your korban pesach and your son. Okay, then my son is the drasha. Okay, now we began Rabbi Akiva a little bit, but tonight's evening we're going to spend more explaining the sheet of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, we'll explain the sheet of Rabbi Akiva. So al nefesh he broke up. The nefesh is rechoikim, meaning non-relatives. Mois is the nazir lo yitam l'krayvim. Lo yavo he didn't darshan at all, and he used la'achiv le'imoy, both of them for meis mitzvah. Okay, and we're going to pick it up over here. Shetzarech le'imoy la'aviv. He's right. He can't be mitama to his father, his mother, but he could be mitama to the meis mitzvah. And then we'll get back to the chart as soon as we finish the Gemara. Okay. So this is what we're discussing right now. This is the sugya. So now, mem tes samid aleph. Rabbi Akiva mechti loishna kohen gadol l'chudei, loishna kohen gadol v'hu nazir nafka mil achiv. He used the word achiv. The kohen gadol used the word achiv, which I did cut short. Let's say he has two kedushas. He has the kedusha of Kahuna Gedola and the kedusha of Nazir, right? That even though he has both, he still is mitama meis mitzvah. So here's the question: if you're telling me, right? Oh wow. Okay, if you're telling me that the kohen, let's get this, guys. You can see this. You see it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now watch. You're telling me, Achiv teaches me, Af shahaya nazir kohen gadol nital meis mitzvah. Then why do you need this pasuk la'av over here to tell me la'aviv that he's a kohen gadol is nital meis mitzvah? Madach by Nazir, if he has both kedushas, he has kedusha of Kahuna Gedola and the kedusha is Naziris. He can mitama l'meis mitzvah. Certainly, if he only has the kedusha of Kohen Gadol, he can mitama l'meis mitzvah. Again, that's why this says lahava amina. Look at the cursor, guys. This says lahava amina. The hava amina is from the word aviv. He's darshaning to the father, right? To the father, he can't be metama, but the kohen gadol could be metama l'meis mitzvah. Once we have this limud of la'achiv, that is metama to a person who has both kedushas, he's metama l'meis mitzvah, then I understand clearly also that if he's only a kohen gadol, he can metama l'meis mitzvah. So now the word aviv is extraneous, guys, right? Since he has achiv, if he had achiv, the aviv is extraneous. Good? You with me? So let's see what we got now. No, it's from Nazir, we can go ahead and ascertain what would the din be by kohen gadol. Initially, I thought kohen gadol aviv u'imai, the word aviv u'imai is teaching me, but he could be metama l'meis mitzvah. I don't need that anymore. If you're telling, that's by kohen gadol. If you're telling me by Nazir, that a Nazir, the achiv by Nazir, if he has both kedushas, he can be metama l'meis mitzvah. Certainly, then he only has one kedusha, he can be metama l'meis mitzvah. So now the limit of aviv u'imai that you learn from kohen gadol is extraneous, because I know tumas of a kohen gadol alone from the exegesis of what of Nazir. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva again, michti loishna kohen gadol lechudei v'loishna kohen gadol. It's not a difference of kohen gadol or loishna kohen gadol v'hu Nazir. Either one. Nafka mila achiv. You could learn it out from achiv, right? Madach, if he has two kedushas, kuna gedoyla, and Nazir, he could be metama l'meis mitzvah. Then if he only has one kohen gadol, of course it could be. So now the ve'imai from kuna gedoyla, that bottom part of the chart, is extraneous. Says the Gemara, la'aviv le'imai lamali. Why do you have to tell me both? So now the Gemara I'll tell you why you have to tell me both. Tzricha, you needed to tell me that this is speaking about Nazir. This is speaking about the following. You're telling me over here, la'achiv, he can be mitama, right? Now, over v'imoy shetzarach l'nazir l'tamei l'meis mitzvah. So this I already know. What about this? Isn't this extraneous also now? If a kohen gadol and a nazir could be metama l'meis mitzvah, so certainly a nazir alone could be metama l'meis mitzvah, right? The same svara that you said by kohen gadula, you should say by nazir. Madach, if he has both kedushas, he's a kohen gadol and a nazir, he can be metama l'meis mitzvah. Certainly, if he's only a nazir, he can be metama l'meis mitzvah. So why do you need la'aviv le'imo? I could learn it out from achiv. Just like achiv was used to teach me kohen gadol, achiv should be used to teach me Nazir. Achiv should used to teach me Nazir. I'm talking a lot, guys. Is this going in? Arum. Are we good? You good? Good. One more time. Our theme, right? Remember, AIM, the teacher, 50 years ago, put the word 60 years ago. Put the word aim on the blackboard, right? What's our aim? Where's the source for meis mitzvah that a kohen gadol could be metal meis mitzvah to a nazir? Good. So initially we thought it says la'aviv v'limai. La'aviv v'limai can't be metal, could be metal meis mitzvah. Good. So Rabbi Shmuel used the word aviv. Rabbi Akiva used both. Good. That was by kohen gadol. We're now seeing by nazir we have the word aviv v'limai and we have the word achaisai achiv. So what's Rabbi Akiva? Aviv v'imai, he can't be metamla too, but he could be metamla meis mitzvah. But it says achiv. Achiv means if he has both kedushas, both kuna gedoyla and nazir, he could still be metamla meis mitzvah. So now, just like you're retracting by kohen gadol and saying you don't need aviv v'imai to teach me meis mitzvah, let's retract by nazir also. You don't need it to teach me meis mitzvah because achiv will do the job. Madach, if he has double kedusha, he can be metama. Certainly, he has singular kedusha, he can be metama. Now the Gemara is going to make a tzrichasa why you cannot say that. Why by nazir you need 3 limudim, aviv v'imai for a regular nazir, and an achiv for he has a double kedusha of kohen gadol and naziris. What's the tzrichasa? What's it necessary? Let's see it inside. Lama tzricha, 3 lines down. You need to tell me this. Because of aviv havamina hainu taima delay metamale mishum dechazaka ba'almahu. Guys, Why by Misha Beirach, when you make for a chayla, do you use the mother's name? Because you know the mother is the mother. You know the mother is the mother. The father, we say roiv be'ilis chol achri av. Majority, we assume, it's an assumption that you are the father. It's an assumption, but you're not for sure. Again, this is before DNA testing. Aval imoy di yodin the say that she birthed him. L'tamala. Therefore, you have to tell me what, right? Mother. Because rachmona imoy havamina imoy lay l'tamala. You can't be tamalaha the lay azal zara basra. Because when it comes to yichus, you go after the father. Aval aviv, and yichus meaning in terms of Yerusha, right? Shavit. Aval aviv, kivin the amamar. By aviv, what does the pasuk by aviv? What does the pasuk say by? What does the pasuk say by aviv? The pasuk says, "Su es reish kaladas b'nei Yisrael," right? L'mishbechaysam leveis avaysam. So you say leveis avaysam. The yichus is the leveis avaysam. So emem metamala. So the mother has a reason you should be metama because you know it's your mother. The father has a reason to be metama because you go after beis avaysam. So either one, I would say you metama, and therefore it's necessary to state them that you're not metama. So memela, I can't learn them out from achiv. Stop. I can't learn it out from achiv. Why? Because you needed tzrichasa. If you just would have said achiv and not of the imai, then I wouldn't know them. I'd say you could be metame, each one for their own purpose. Either the mother because you know she's your mother, or the father because you go you have to beis avaysam. So therefore what? Kamash Malon, that no, afilu meis mitzvah. Kamash Malon, afilu meis mitzvah. So now we can go ahead and finish it up. Let's see. We have this whole thing in front of us. Here we go. This is the limud from Kohen Gadol, right? Rabbi Shmuel, we have clear. The whole tonight's been Rabbi Akiva. In the Havamina, you need a Kohen Gadol Tam Lameis Mitzvah. I did away with that. You know where I did away with that, guys? I learned it from Achiv. Madach, we has both Kedushas, Kahuna, and Nazir. You can be Matama to Meis Mitzvah. Certainly a Kohen can be Matama Meis Mitzvah. Only Kahuna Gedolah. So therefore, what I use it for, I use it to teach me the Gzeir Shava of Rabbi that you could be Matama to a Mitzayra and a Zav. Now, why do I need these? This was the crux of the share. Shetzarach l'nazir Matama Meis Mitzvah. Right? Now, L'Achiv, it says even you have double Kedusha. Even though I'm a Nazir and a Kohen Godly, Metalmeis Mitzvah. Freg the Gemara. So why do I need this limud? Madach with two Kedushas, he could be Metama. Certainly one Kedusha can Metama. Says the Gemara, no. If you wouldn't have said Abba V'imai, I would have said father. If it didn't say the father, I'd say you can be Metama because you go after the base of Isaac. And Kamashmalan, you can't be Metama to your father. Imai, if you would have said Imai, I would say you Metama to your mother because you know she came from their mother. Therefore, it says, he might tell me no. In all cases, and Achaisai, the same thing, that you go after Halach, despite the fact that what? It's a Chi of Karis, you could be Metama to a Meis Mitzvah. That was pretty good, yeah? Okay. Now, the Pasuk by Kohen Gadol, Kol Nafshis Meis La Yavai, Lamali, right? According to Rabbi Kiva, why do I need this Pasuk, guys? Guys, according to Rabbi Kiva, you know Meis Mitzvah across the board, right? You know the limud from Madach, from Achiv, you learn that Kohen Gadol. So why do I need the Kol Nafshas Meis LaYavai? Any Meis, what does it teach me? So Amid Beis, I'll call L'Refuke Rechaikim. I'll call will go exclude Rechaikim, non-relatives. Meis Lafuke Kroivim, right? The Meis to exclude Kroivim, and Nafshos is Lafuke Revius Dam Shiyotze Mishnei Meisim. Now, a dam, the nefesh, we're going to see that a nef kazayis of a revius of dam can be metama to oil. So I would say if it comes from one mace. How do you know if it comes from two separate mason? It would be mitzvah if it would combine to be metama. So that you learn out from the word nafshos, right? Nafshos. Shnema I'll call nafshos meis leyavai. So we learn out certainly a totally different halacha. Okay, very good. We begin now the very Again, a very difficult part, mainly because the Yediyas are very strange Yediyas. This is we know that the Nazir, that Tumas Mace can be sized as Naziris, but not all Naziris are the same. There's a Naziris that's sized as Naziris, meaning 7 days, and then you have to start recounting. And then there's a Naziris of 7 days that gets interrupted, but you don't have to recount. So this mission that we're going to do are all the ones that you would have to go ahead and be Saisi Naziris, okay? It would be Saisi Naziris. That all these you would not only have to count 7 days to get cleansed from, but it would be Saisi Naziris. And again, Tumas Sheretz, Tumas Nevela, all those tumas have no bearing in the parsha of Nazir. The only thing is, it has to be mamish only tumas mace. That's the only thing. And even within tumas mace, they're not all created equal. That's what we're saying. They're all not the same. So says our Mishnah, al elu tumois hanazim megaleach. These are the tumas that is the nazim megaleach that he's gonna. Meaning, this is a giluach of tumah, guys. Remember, if he has to shave, he has to totally shave his hair, and we start. What are they? Ala mace, on a mace. Well, a kazayis min a mace. That would appear to be redundant. If it's a kazayis min a mace, then what's the chiddush of mace? We'll see in the Gemara. Gemara's going to ask the kasha. Val kazayis netzel. Netzel is as the mace decomposes, it oozes out the liquid. That's called netzel. Val mole tarvid rokov or mole tarvid rekev. If you have all these will be discussed in the Gemara. I'm just giving you a foreshadow that if you have a mace that is buried without any clothing in a chamber that is perfectly hermetically sealed, so nothing can go ahead and get intermingled there, and you're left with a dust of a corpse, then if you have a moli tarva, a shovel full, then that would be matama. Ala shidra, on the skull, the spine, al gilgoilis, and the skull, whether we're going to, together or separately, we'll see. Val aver min mace, on an aver from the mace that has basar. Val aver min achai sheyesh la basar karoi. In other words, if it would be attached to the mace, if enough basar was enough attached to the mace to regenerate, even if it's less than a kazayas, even if this basar is less than a kazayas, if it was attached to a live person and could regenerate, that would be matama. All this would go ahead and nazar megaleach. Val chatzi kav atzamois, and hief a kav of atzamois. Taisus points out something very interesting. Chatzi kav is a measurement. If you look at Taisus, guys, it says val chatzi kav atzamois. Umari sheba meiroiv minyanoi or meiroiv binyanoi. It comes from the majority of the minyan. They have 125 as the majority because 248 is the hit, and 125 is majority of 248, and roiv binyan, that's the majority of the height, as we're going to see. You have a little bit of each. Okay, now here's the one I want. In Masechta Oilus, guys, it discusses what is metama tumas oil, and it says you only need a quarter of a kav. So freg Tosfos, why by Naziris do you need double the amount? A chatzi kav. Again, if you would walk into have bones, a chatzi kav of these bones, they will be metama tumas oil. Yet by Nazir, it's not going to do the job unless it's chatzi kav. Elu says Tosfos, right? Says Tosfos. Well, it's halacha mash misinai. The ina nazir begaleach elachal chatzi kav. Only a chatzi kav. Only on a chatzi kav. Good. That's again. Tosfos says halacha mash misinai. Continues if you're really interested, there's a Rambam in Perek Zayin, Hilchas Aleph, halacha Aleph. It gets involved. Well, it's a little different cheshbon. But anyway, Tosfos says halacha mash misinai. So again, back inside, second word line. A chatzi kav at samais, even though it's a roiv kav by oilos, the chatzi loig dam. I said Revius would do the job, right, guys? A Revius dam would do the job. Here you have a chatzi. If you look, Tosfos says the same thing. Tosfos says that what halacha mash misinai by Nazir, that you need a chatzi loig and not a quarter of a loig, not a Revius. All these we mitama tumas maga, tumas masa, and tumas oil. However, the etzem kisoira, an etzem the size of a barley bean, al magor val maso, on its mega touching it, val maso and carrying it, al elu anozim megaleach. Even though that would only be, there wouldn't be tumas oil there, but nonetheless, all of these, al elu alozim megaleach, all of these the nazir would have to shave his head. Umaze b'shlishi ushvi, have paraduma water spritzed on him on day 3 and day 7. B'soiser es hakoidmin, and it would go ahead and do away with any of the days, the previous days. Ve'enu maschil limnois, and you can't start counting your naziris anu asher yitoher, until you go ahead and get cleansed with the 7 days with a spritz, who maybe is karbanaisav, and the chumrah of the nazir. After tumas meis, guys, you have to bring karbanis. That's the chumrah of the nazir. After tumas meis, you have to bring karbanis. Okay, Tan Rabbanan. Achat b'tirasa shel Reb Meir. After Reb Meir died, again, who was the bapukta of Reb Meir? Was Reb Yehuda. Amlem Reb Yehuda l'talmidav. Reb Yehuda told the talmidim, "Yichnasu talmidei Reb Meir kan." Don't let the talmidim Reb Meir. They're going to want to come learn by me. Don't let them in. Lefisha kantronim hein. They're kantronim. They're, I guess the word this would be make it to the blog. They're contrary. They're contrary. They they're makanter. They fight. So I don't want them here. They're not coming to learn. They're coming to bother me about lachas. Sumchis, who was the famous Talmud of Reb Meir. If you go to Tveria, they're buried right next to each other. Reb Meir and Sumchis are buried right next to each other in Tveria. So Tenichnas Amalehem Kach Shanali Rabbi Meir. Al elu tumis hanazim megaleach al ameis vel kazayis min ameis, right? So he's asking the kasha. If you're megaleach on a kazayis min ameis, then certainly what on a total mace, correct? It would seem to be redundant. Yehuda got angry. V'amalahem like kachamati lechem al yikansu tamidim Rabbi Meir lekan bish katranim heimel al kazayis min ameis megaleach al ameis like kol shekain. So in other words, what? Don't let them come in here. I'm Rabbi Yossi, who was sitting there, famous Rabbi Yossi. Yomru, Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. Yomru, Meir Shachav, Meir is dead. Yehuda Kaas, Yehuda's angry. Yossi Shasak, and Yossi sits around and is quiet. Torah Matei Lev, what's going to be Torah? Like this is the idea of Agadata in Masechta Naziris, guys. Okay? This is as close as you get. Now, I'm Rabbi Yossi. In other words, when it says this, what happens when you have a mace that is so decomposed that there's not a kazayas of basar on it? So you have a mace and a kazayas from a mace with basar. So that's the two dinim. Mace is without the basar, and kazayas mace is with basar. So therefore, those are the two dinim. Look, all right, guys, you got a problem. If you have a full mace, you got a full skeleton, correct? Why did we spoke about Shidrog, Gogoilis, Aver, right? Yeah. So you dealt with the basa problem. What you got a bone problem, right? The same issue would be with bones. Vadayin Yomer al Aver mimenu megaleach al kulo kol shekain. Even without a kazayas basa, fellas, on an Aver, you're going to go ahead and he said Aver min mace. So an Aver min mace without kazayas. So the full mace, certainly so. So Rabbi Yossi's teretz is not a good teretz. So Taka, what's pshat in the Mishnah? Al mace vel kazayis min mace. If a kazayis min mace, certainly a mace itself. Says the Gemara, Ela kidam Rabbi Yochanan. We have two terutzim. Lo nitzucha elo nefel, shlo niskashu evorav begidin. If you have a child who's a nefel, who is so not formed that his evorim are not, I don't know exactly the mitzias, but his evorim, his limbs are not sinud together. That's I made up that word. The sino is somehow not connecting it together. So that's what the mace is talking about here. That nefel, you don't have a kazayas with that, and if that's that level of mace, it still will be tamei, despite the fact it doesn't have a kazayas. So he said that somewhere. So in Masechta Chulin Achanami ben nefel shaloi nikshu evar begidin. Right. That's what it's speaking about. If you look at let's see the rush for a second. Ela kazayisman ames v'nefel shalei niskashu be'ivarav begidin. Dal aver mimenu ein megaleach. An aver from this child, you would not go ahead and would not override the Naziris. So in other words, what's the kasha? Good, yeah, a mace. Why do we need to tell me a whole mace, even an aver from a mace? And the answer is the mace here is a nafel, but an aver from this nafel you would not be megaleach. That's what the chiddush is. Go back to the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Ala mace, you would go ahead and override the Naziris of a nafel, that even though the aver of the nafel would not go ahead and be megaleach, the full nafel you would be, and then you say about kazayis min ames, right? So now continues the rush. Yalev mimenu ein megaleach kivan the ein by gidin, because it doesn't have sinus. Darmina and the ein betama ba'oil. You'd only go ahead, you need three things. You need some bone, some meat, and some sinu. Now, this child has bone, this child has meat, it doesn't have what? It doesn't have sinu. So it's not aver. So what's your kasha? Ala mace, you're telling me that the mace, because I a mace, what's the chiddush? So the mace is speaking about a child that the aver itself you would not go ahead, but the whole child you would, despite the fact it doesn't, the aver from it you wouldn't. And Kazayis min mace is speaking about a regular mace. That's one teretz. A second teretz, Rav, that's the teretz of Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Amar, like nitzrucha el leroiv binyanoi uleroiv minyanoi she'ein behen roiv atzamais. You have roiv of the binyan, roiv of the minyan, but you don't have a quarter of that samais. Let's finish off with the rush here. Says the rush. L'roiv binyanoi, roiv minyanoi. Roiv binyanoi, mefarish the command in the set we're going to see. Shtei shakayim, the two shaik. What's the shaik? The thigh. The yerech echad. The long bones, and the two legs and one thigh. The roiv minyanoi is kuf. It should be kuf chav hey, not kuf chav beis. It should be kuf chav hey. 125 avarim. Afal pishein ben roiv at samais. Even though you don't have a quarter of a kav of atsamais. In other words, avon loy hoya roiv a binyan or roiv minyan ein megaleach at shei bem chatzi kav. So here's the chiddush. Al ela tumis megaleach ala mace al kazayis min a mace. What's the mace we're speaking about over here? The mace you have a quarter of a. You don't have a quarter of a kav, but you have roiv binyan and roiv minyan, right? So in this case where you have what? Make sure I tell you right pshat. You have the majority of the mace you have. You have two yerechayim b'shaik echad. You have two thighs and one below the thigh from the knee, the calf. Or you have two calves and one thigh. Even though you don't have a roiv of a kav at samais, it means matama b'oil. When the Mishnah said chatzi kav, it said chatzi kav without roiv binyan and roiv minyan. Here you need for this you need roiv binyan roiv minyan. Okay. So two terutzim. One, we're speaking about the mace is speaking about a nafel that the aver alone would not be, but the whole mace would be, the whole nafel, the miscarried child. And the second shot is the mace that's under discussion over here is, even though you need chatzi kav, that's when you don't have roiv binyan and roiv minyan. But if the bones you have of roiv binyan and roiv minyan, then even a quarter, and even though you don't have a quarter of a kav, it would do the job to mitam. And that's the chiddush over here.